Ho opened his eyes to darkness and pain. Cold metal pressed against his back. The air smelled wrong, like burnt copper and something chemical he could not name. He tried to move and fire exploded through his left arm. Broken. He knew that feeling well. He lay still and let his other senses work. A low hum of engines vibrated through the floor. The soft buzz of an energy field somewhere nearby. Footsteps, heavy and slow, passing outside whatever cage they had put him in. Not a cage, a cell. Memories came back in sharp pieces. The ambush, his squad moving through the canyon on that dead moon, the flash of weapons from above, screaming, blood, Private pushing him out of the way as plasma fire cut through the air, falling, not getting up. 12 soldiers went into that canyon. Ho did not know how many made it out. He only knew that he did not. He forced himself to sit up. His ribs screamed in protest. 3 broken, maybe 4. A plasma burn on his right shoulder had melted through his armor and cooked the flesh beneath. His leg was cut deep, but the bleeding had stopped. Small mercy. The cell was small. 3 meters by 3 meters, walls of smooth gray metal, no windows. A thin energy barrier covered the door, glowing soft blue. Beyond it, he could see a corridor lit by strips of cold white light. He was on a ship, an alien ship. Ho had seen aliens before. The galaxy was full of them. Most were friendly or at least not hostile, trade partners, diplomatic contacts. Some were dangerous. He had fought a few in his 10 years of service. But he had never seen the species that had attacked his squad. Tall, broad, covered in thick gray skin like armor. 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern on flat faces. Hands with too many fingers. They had moved fast for their size, faster than anything that big should move. He heard those heavy footsteps again, coming closer. Ho pushed himself to his feet. It hurt so much that black spots danced in his vision. He stayed up anyway. Whatever was coming, he would meet it standing. 2 of them appeared outside his cell. They wore what looked like military uniforms, dark red with symbols he did not recognize. One carried a device that beeped and flashed as it pointed at him. A scanner of some kind. The other just watched, all 4 eyes fixed on the human. They spoke to each other in a language of clicks and deep rumbles. Ho caught something that sounded like surprise in their tones. They gestured at the scanner, then at him, then spoke more urgently. He understood. They were surprised he was alive. Good. More time passed. Ho did not know how much. There was no way to measure it in the unchanging light of his cell. He slept when exhaustion took him, woke to the same pain and the same gray walls. No food came. No water. They were testing him, he realized, seeing how long the human could last. The answer was longer than they expected. On what felt like the 3rd day, something changed. The barrier on his door flickered and died. 3 of the aliens entered. 2 pointed weapons at him. The 3rd was different, larger than the others. Older, maybe. Scars crossed his gray skin in patterns that looked almost decorative. This one did not point a weapon. He did not need to. Everything about him said he was the most dangerous thing in the room. He spoke and the words meant nothing to Ho. But then a small device on the alien's chest glowed, and a flat, mechanical voice translated. "I am okay, Arena Master. You are the first human we have captured alive." Ho said nothing, just watched. OK stepped closer. His 4 eyes studied Ho like a scientist studying a new specimen, or a butcher studying meat. "Your wounds are severe. Our doctors say you should be dead. Your bones are broken. Your flesh is burned. You have lost much blood." A pause. "Why are you still standing?" Ho still said nothing. OK made a sound that might have been a laugh. "It does not matter. You will die soon enough, but not here, not quietly." He gestured around them. "Grand Warlord Al has ordered you brought to Prime, to our home world. Do you know what waits there?" Silence. "The blood games, the greatest entertainment in our empire. Warriors fight, beasts hunt, the strong survive, the weak die screaming." OK leaned closer, close enough that Ho could smell him like rust in something rotten. You will be the opening act, a curiosity. The crowd will watch the humans struggle and fail and bleed. They will cheer when you fall, and then the real games will begin. Ho thought about this. His arm throbbed. His ribs ached with every breath. The burn on his shoulder had started to itch, which meant it was healing. His body was already fighting to repair itself, even without food or water. That was what humans did. They survived. OK waited for a response, for begging maybe, for fear. Ho gave him neither. Instead, slowly and carefully, he opened his mouth and spoke. His voice was rough from disuse, but the words came out clear. He spoke in the tongue, rough and broken but understandable. He had been listening to every conversation outside his cell, learning. I have killed things bigger than you. For a moment, nothing happened. OK stared at him. The guards stared at him. The translator device on OK's chest was silent because there was nothing to translate. The human had spoken their language. Then OK stepped back. His 4 eyes blinked, one pair after the other. Perhaps, he said slowly, you will be more entertaining than I thought. He left, the guards followed. The barrier hummed back to life. Ho let himself sink back to the floor. The effort of standing had drained him, but it had been worth it. He had seen something in OK's eyes in that final moment, something he recognized. Doubt. They thought he was just meat for their games, a weak, wounded thing to be killed for amusement. They did not understand what they had captured. They did not know what humans were. But they would learn. Ho closed his eyes. He needed to rest. He needed to heal, because somewhere out there his people were looking for him. Captain would not give up. The human military did not leave soldiers behind, ever. All he had to do was survive long enough for them to find him. And Ho was very, very good at surviving. The ship landed on the 3rd day. Ho felt the change in the engines, the bump of ground beneath them. Then came the sounds of a world beyond the metal walls, distant roaring that was not wind, the rumble of massive crowds. Guards came for him. They did not bother with chains. They thought him too weak to run. Maybe they were right. But Ho memorized every turn, every corridor, every face he saw. Information was a weapon, and he was gathering all he could. The light outside the ship was harsh and orange. 2 suns burned in a purple sky. The air was thick and hot, hard to breathe. But Ho had trained in worse conditions. He walked without stumbling. They took him through streets of black stone. Buildings rose around them like teeth, tall and sharp. Everywhere he saw thousands of them. They stopped to stare as the guards marched him past. They pointed and clicked their strange language to each other. The human, they were looking at the human. At the end of the street stood a mountain, but it was not a natural mountain. It had been carved, shaped, hollowed out. Arches and windows covered its face. Statues of a warrior stood at its base, each one the size of a building. And from inside that mountain came the roar of a million voices. The arena of blood. They took him inside, down into tunnels of old stone. The roaring faded to a distant thunder. The air grew cool and damp. Other prisoners filled cells along the walls. Creatures from a dozen worlds, all watching him pass with hollow eyes. His new cell was larger than the one on the ship. It had a thin pad for sleeping and a hole in the corner for waste. Luxury by prison standards. A small alien waited inside. She was half his height, with pale blue skin and large dark eyes. Her hands trembled as she looked at him. I am, she said in careful human standard. I will be your translator. Ho sat down on the sleeping pad. His whole body ached. You speak my language. I speak many languages. It is why they keep me alive. She moved to the corner farthest from him. You are the first human I have met. They say your kind is dangerous. They are right. Stared at him, then slowly she continued. The games begin tomorrow. You will fight first. They want to, she struggled for the word. They want to warm up the crowd, make them excited for the real fighters. By watching me die. Yes. Ho nodded. He had expected this. What will I fight? A Han, a hunting beast from the outer worlds. It has killed many gladiators. It has armor skin and poison fangs. It is very fast. His voice dropped. I am sorry, I have seen it fight. No one survives. Everyone dies eventually, Ho said, but not tomorrow. Did not seem to believe him. She gave him food and water before she left. The first he had received in days. He ate slowly, making it last, feeling his body absorb every bit of energy. Then he slept, and in his sleep he dreamed of Earth, of running through forests as a boy, chasing his friends until they collapsed from exhaustion, of his mother telling him the old stories about human ancestors who hunted across endless plains. We are not the fastest, she had said. We are not the strongest, but we never stop, we never give up. That is what makes us human. He woke to the sound of drums. The guards came, they gave him a weapon, a short blade barely longer than his forearm. The edge was dull, a joke. They expected him to die no matter what they gave him. Ho held the blade and felt its weight. He had worked with less. The tunnel ahead sloped upward. Light poured down from the end. The roaring of the crowd grew louder with every step. And then he was out, standing on sand under an orange sky, with a million screaming from the seats above. The arena of blood was massive. The sand stretched in every direction like a small desert. The walls rose high, covered with spectators all the way to the carved ceiling. Somewhere at the top, in a box of gold and red, sat a figure larger than all the others. Grand Warlord Al, ruler of the Empire. A voice boomed across the arena, speaking too fast for Ho to follow, but he understood the meaning. The crowd laughed. They cheered. They were being told about the weak, wounded human who would now provide their entertainment. Then a gate opened on the far side of the arena. The hand came out. Had not exaggerated. The beast was the size of a small vehicle. 6 legs carried it across the sand with terrible speed. Its body was covered in plates of natural armor, dark green and glistening. Its head was mostly mouth, filled with fangs that dripped with something wet and yellow. Venom. The crowd roared their approval. The hand saw Ho. It made a sound like grinding metal. Then it charged. Ho did not run. There was nowhere to run. Instead, he watched. He studied how it moved, how it turned, where its eyes were and where they were not. The beast was fast, but it was not smart. At the last moment, Ho dove to the side. The hand crashed past him, legs scrambling in the sand. It turned, confused. In its world, prey ran. Prey did not stand still and watch. Ho moved before it could adjust. He ran at it, not away. His broken arm screamed, but he ignored it. He had been hurt worse. He reached the beast's side before it could turn, and he jammed his blade up into the gap between 2 armor plates. The hand screamed. It thrashed, throwing him back. He hit the sand hard and rolled, but his blade was still in his hand, now wet with purple blood. The beast turned on him, angrier now, more careful. It circled, looking for an opening. Ho circled too. He was bleeding from the fall. His vision was starting to blur at the edges. He did not have long. The hand lunged. Ho was ready. He dropped low under the snapping jaws and thrust upward. The blade found the soft skin beneath the monster's chin. He pushed with everything he had, driving the metal up through flesh and bone into the brain. The hand shuddered. Its legs folded. It crashed to the sand and did not move. Ho pulled his blade free and stepped back. Blood covered his hands, his own and the beast's. He stood over the corpse, chest heaving, broken arm hanging useless at his side. He looked up at the crowd. Silence. A million stared down at him. The beast that had killed dozens of gladiators lay dead at his feet, killed in less than 2 minutes by a wounded human with a dull blade. Ho raised his weapon and looked directly at the Grand Warlord's box. Still no one cheered, no one laughed. In his golden seat, Al leaned forward. His 4 eyes were fixed on the small figure in the sand. "Interesting," the Grand Warlord said softly. "Very interesting." He turned to his aide. "Find out everything we know about these humans, everything." Below, the guards came to take Ho back to his cell. As he walked past the fallen hand, he allowed himself a small, bloody smile. This was only the beginning. The night after his first victory, Ho was moved to different quarters. Not a cell this time, but a large room filled with other gladiators. Slaves from a dozen conquered worlds, all waiting for their turn to die in the sand. They watched him enter. They had seen the fight. Word spread fast in the pits. No one spoke to him. No one came near. They looked at him like he was a new kind of monster, more dangerous than anything in the arena above. Ho found an empty corner and sat down. His body was exhausted, but his mind was still working, planning. He needed information about this place, about his enemies, about any possible way out. Came to him after the others fell asleep. She moved quietly, her blue skin pale in the dim light. "You should not have one," she whispered. "The hand has killed gladiators with 10 times your strength. How did you do it?" "I watched it," Ho said simply. "Every creature has weaknesses. I found them." Sat beside him, keeping her voice low. "They are talking about you. The guards, the other slaves, everyone. No one can believe what happened." "Good." "No, not good." Her large eyes were filled with worry. "Tomorrow they will send 3 warriors, not a beast, trained fighters. They want to make sure you die this time." Ho nodded slowly. 3 against 1. Injured, tired, with nothing but a short blade. The odds were not in his favor. But odds never told the whole story. While Ho rested in the gladiator pits, something very different was happening in the Grand Warlord's palace. Al had called his war council together. Generals and advisors sat around a great stone table, looking at a display in the center. The display showed Earth, a small blue planet in an unremarkable solar system. "This is their world," the chief scholar said. "We have studied it since first contact with their species. What we have learned is troubling." He pressed a control and the display changed. Data scrolled across the image, temperature ranges, gravity measurements, atmospheric composition. "Their planet is what we call a death world, extreme conditions that would kill most species. The temperature varies by over 100 degrees between seasons. The gravity is strong enough to crush many life forms. Their atmosphere is filled with a highly reactive gas called oxygen, which they actually breathe." One of the generals made a sound of disgust. "Impossible." "I assure you, it is true," the scholar continued. "Their world is covered with predators, diseases that could wipe out entire populations of our people, natural disasters of every kind. Humans evolved in an environment that was actively trying to kill them every day." Al listened in silence. His 4 eyes never left the display. "How did they survive?" asked another general. "Through pure stubbornness." The scholar pulled up more images, ancient humans hunting across grasslands. They developed a technique called persistence hunting. They are not the fastest or strongest creatures on their world, but they have an ability we have never seen in any other species. They can keep moving long after others would stop. They chase prey until the prey collapses from exhaustion. Their bodies are built for endurance beyond anything we thought possible. "That is concerning," Al said slowly. "There is more." The scholar's voice grew quieter. "Their bodies can heal from wounds that would kill us. They can survive losing limbs, organs, massive amounts of blood. Their bones break and then grow back stronger. They fight through pain that would shut down our nervous systems." The War Council was silent. "And perhaps most dangerous of all," the scholar continued, "is their social structure. They form what they call pack bonds, connections with others of their kind that go beyond logic or survival instinct. They will die for each other. They will cross impossible distances to save one of their own. When you take a human, the others do not forget. They come for their people, always. Okay, who had been standing in the shadows, spoke up. Then we should kill this one now, before he becomes a bigger problem. Al raised a hand for silence. No, I want to see what he can do. If humans are truly this dangerous, I need to understand them. This one will show us the limits of their species. And if he has no limits, Okay asked. Al smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. Everything has limits, we just need to find his. Back in the gladiator pits, Ho was not sleeping. He was exercising. Every movement hurt. His broken arm was strapped to his chest with cloth torn from his sleeping pad. His ribs ached with every breath. The burn on his shoulder had scabbed over, pulling tight whenever he moved. He pushed through it all. Sit-ups, push-ups with one arm, squats until his legs burned, running in place, silent in the darkness. His body wanted to rest, to heal peacefully, but he could not afford that luxury. He had to be ready for tomorrow. Pain is just information, his drill instructor had said back in basic training on Earth. Your brain tells you it hurts. Your brain tells you to stop, but your brain is not in charge. You are. You decide when to stop. Ho had decided long ago that he would never stop. Watched him from across the room, amazement and fear mixing on her small blue face. She had seen gladiators from many worlds, strong ones, fast ones, clever ones, but she had never seen anyone like this. Anyone who treated pain like an inconvenience instead of a warning. You are pushing too hard, she whispered. You will hurt yourself worse. I will heal, Ho said between breaths. How can you be sure? He paused, sweat dripping down his face. Because I always do. It is what my kind does. We break, we bleed, we keep going. Somewhere far across the galaxy, Captain stood on the bridge of a human warship. She had not slept in 2 days. Her eyes were fixed on a screen that showed a fragmented distress signal, broken and weak, but still transmitting. Coordinates deep in a space, dangerous territory. Any rescue mission would be almost impossible. Almost. Plot a course, she ordered, and contact our allies, everyone we have ever helped, everyone who owes us a favor, everyone who hates the way. Tell them Sergeant Ho is alive. Tell them we are going to get him back. Her second officer looked uncertain. Captain, the distances involved, the enemy forces. It will take at least 3 days, maybe more. His jaw tightened. Then we move fast. Ho has survived this long. He will survive 3 more days. That man does not know how to die. She turned back to the screen, to the faint signal blinking in the darkness. Hold on, Sergeant, she said quietly. We are coming. In his cell on the other side of the galaxy, Ho finished his exercises and lay back on the cold stone floor. His body was screaming. His mind was calm. 3 days. He just had to survive 3 more days. Tomorrow, 3 warriors would try to kill him. He smiled in the darkness. They had no idea what they were facing. The second day of the blood games began with drums that shook the stone walls. Ho woke before the guards came. He had slept only a few hours, but it was enough. His body had done what human bodies do. It had started healing. The pain was still there, but it was quieter now, more manageable. His mind was clear and sharp. 3 warriors. That was what waited for him today. 3 soldiers trained from birth in combat, each one bigger, faster, and stronger than him, each one armed with proper weapons. And he was still injured, still alone, still armed with only a dull blade. Perfect. The guards came with the sunrise. They looked at him differently now. Before, there had been amusement in their eyes. Now there was something else, not quite fear, but close to it. They marched him up through the tunnels. The roar of the crowd grew louder with every step. When he emerged onto the sand, the noise was like a physical force, pressing against him from all directions. But today, the crowd was not laughing. Today, they watched in silence as the human walked to the center of the arena. They had seen what he did to the hand. They knew this was no ordinary prisoner. Ho looked up at Al's golden box. The Grand Warlord was there again, leaning forward with interest. Beside him sat other officials, all watching the small human figure in the sand below. The gate on the far side opened. 3 warriors stepped out. They were massive. Each one stood nearly 3 meters tall. Their gray skin was covered in ritual scars, marks of battles won. They carried real weapons, not the dull practice blades given to slaves. Long curved swords that glinted in the orange sunlight, shields of dark metal, armor that covered their vital organs. The crowd began to cheer. This was what they had come to see, not a quick death but a proper fight. The human would struggle, would fight bravely, and then would die. Entertainment for the masses. The 3 warriors spread out, circling him. They moved with the confidence of predators who knew their prey had no chance. They had killed dozens of gladiators between them. This would be no different. Ho waited. The first warrior attacked. He came in fast, sword sweeping in an arc meant to take off Ho's head. Ho ducked under it, feeling the blade pass through the air above him. He moved inside the warrior's guard and slashed with his short blade. The edge was dull, but Ho drove it with enough force to cut through the gap in the armor at the warrior's armpit. Purple blood sprayed. The warrior stumbled back, shocked. The other 2 charged together. Ho could not block both. He did not try. Instead, he rolled to the side, letting one blade miss him by centimeters. He came up running, not away from them, but toward the wounded warrior. In battle, you do not fight 3 enemies. You fight one enemy 3 times. The wounded warrior tried to raise his sword, but his injured arm would not cooperate. Ho reached him first. He drove his blade up under the warrior's chin, through the soft flesh into the brain. The fell. 1 down, 2 to go. The crowd had gone silent again. The remaining warriors looked at their fallen comrade. Something changed in their eyes. The confidence was gone. They were facing something they did not understand. Good, fear made enemies stupid. They attacked together, trying to use their numbers. Ho could not match their strength or speed, so he used something else. He used his mind. Every swing they made, he read. Every step they took, he predicted. He had watched warriors through his cell bars for days, learning how they moved, finding the patterns in their fighting style. Humans were not the strongest species. They were not the fastest, but they were very, very good at learning. A blade caught his side, cutting through flesh. Blood flowed, hot and wet. Ho ignored it. Pain was just information. He chose what to do with it. He let the warrior who cut him think he had won. Let him push forward, overconfident, guard dropping just a little. Then Ho struck. His blade found the warrior's throat, where armor met flesh. The second warrior fell, choking on his own blood. 1 left. The last warrior backed away. His 4 eyes were wide now, all pretense of superiority gone. He looked at the human standing over the bodies of his brothers. The small, wounded creature that should have died 100 times over, covered in blood and still standing. "What are you?" the warrior whispered. Ho answered in the tongue, "I am human." He attacked before the warrior could react. It was not elegant, it was not clean. It was brutal and savage and relentless. Ho took hits that should have stopped him. A blade opened his thigh. A punch cracked another rib. He kept coming. Humans did not stop. Humans never stopped. The warrior fell. Ho stood over him, blade raised for the killing blow. The arena was completely silent. A million watched, barely breathing. Ho looked up at Al. The Grand Warlord sat frozen on his throne, eyes fixed on the scene below. Then Ho smiled. He smiled at the ruler of an empire that had conquered 100 worlds. He smiled through the blood and pain and exhaustion. He smiled like a predator that had just realized it was the most dangerous thing in the room. The warrior at his feet whimpered. Ho brought the blade down. The crowd exploded, not in cheers, in shock, in confusion, in something that might have been fear. They had come to watch a human die. Instead, they had watched him kill 3 of their finest warriors with a broken arm and a dull blade. As the guards came to take him away, Ho heard whispers spreading through the stands. The word passed from mouth to mouth, growing louder with each telling. The human cannot be killed. In the gladiator pits, the other slaves looked at him with new eyes as he returned. They had heard the crowd. They had heard the stories already spreading through the underground. Ran to him, helping him sit as he finally let himself feel the extent of his wounds. Blood covered him like a second skin. Some of it was his, most was not. "You did it," she said, voice shaking. "You actually did it. I told you I would." "They are afraid of you now, the guards, the crowd, everyone." She leaned closer. "The slaves are talking. They are saying you cannot be killed. They are saying maybe there is hope." Ho looked at her thin body and haunted eyes, at the mark on her neck that showed she was property. "There is always hope," he said quietly. "Sometimes you just have to fight for it." Above them in the Grand Warlord's chambers, OK knelt before Al's throne. "The slaves are speaking his name," the arena master reported, voice trembling. "They say he cannot be killed. They say he is something more than a creature, something more than a man." Al stared at the blood-stained arena below, where servants were still cleaning the sand. "Then we will prove them wrong," he said. "Prepare the champion. It is time to show the Empire that nothing is beyond our power. Nothing." OK nodded and hurried away. In the darkness of the pits, Ho let tend his wounds. The worst was not as bad as he had feared. His body was already starting to heal. 2 days left. He just had to survive 2 more days. The hard part was almost over. For the first time since his capture, Ho was given medical attention. Alien doctors worked on him in a clean white room, their instruments humming as they scanned and treated his wounds. They did not speak to him. They barely looked at him. But their hands moved with careful precision, sealing cuts and setting bones. Al wanted him healthy, not out of kindness but out of pride. The Grand Warlord needed the human at full strength for the final battle. No one could say the champion won because his opponent was too weak to fight. As they worked, Ho listened to them talk. "These old wounds," one doctor muttered. "Look at the bone structure. Fractures healed and rehealed. Scar tissue layered on scar tissue. How many times has this creature been broken?" "More times than I can count," another replied. "And look at the muscle density, the cellular repair rate. His body is already fighting the new injuries. By tomorrow, he will have recovered more than any could in a week." The first doctor made a sound of disbelief. "How is this possible? How can anything survive this much damage?" Ho opened his eyes. Both doctors froze. "Because on Earth," he said in their language, "this is normal." They stared at him. He let them. When the doctors finished, guards took him back to the pits, but not to the slave quarters. They put him in a private cell, larger and cleaner than before. A reward for surviving, maybe, or a way to keep him separate from the other slaves who were already treating him like a legend. Came to him after dark. She moved through shadows, avoiding the guards, slipping into his cell like a ghost. "I have news," she whispered. "From the underground, the other slaves, they want to help you escape. There are tunnels beneath the arena, old passages that lead outside the city. If we move during the final fight when all eyes are on the arena, we can get you out." Ho considered this. Escape was possible. He could disappear into the wilderness of this alien world, wait for his people to find him. It was the logical choice. But logic was not what drove him. "No," he said. Stared at him. "What?" "I am not escaping, not yet." "Why? They are going to send the champion against you tomorrow. He has never lost. 200 battles, 200 victories. He will kill you." Ho shook his head slowly. "If I run, I am just another escaped slave. They will hunt me down eventually, but if I kill the champion in front of the entire empire, in front of their grand warlord," he paused, "that is something they can never take back. That is something they will never forget." Was silent for a long moment. Then she said quietly, "You are not just fighting for yourself, are you?" "No," Ho looked at her. "I am fighting for everyone that I have ever conquered, everyone who has ever been told they are weak, that they cannot win, that they should just give up and die. If I beat the champion, it proves something. It proves that the strongest empire in the galaxy can be beaten by a single injured human with nothing but a blade." Tears formed in large dark eyes. "You really believe you can win?" "I have to believe it, because belief is all I have." The next morning, the champion came to see him. He was the largest a Ho had ever seen, nearly 4 meters tall. His gray skin was covered in more scars than Ho could count. His arms were as thick as Ho's entire body. He moved with the quiet confidence of something that had never known defeat. 200 battles, 200 victories. He had killed the strongest warriors from 100 conquered worlds. He stood outside Ho's cell, 4 eyes studying the human with cold curiosity. "So you are the creature that has caused such trouble," the champion said. His voice was deep like rocks grinding together. "I have watched recordings of your fights. You are skilled for such a small thing. Brave, too." Ho stood and faced him. The champion was twice his size. It did not matter. "But skill and bravery are not enough," the champion continued. "I have faced enemies with both. They all fell before me. You will be no different." "Maybe," Ho said, "or maybe you have never faced something like me before." The champion made a sound that might have been a laugh. "What are you then? What makes you so special?" Ho stepped closer to the energy barrier, close enough that he could smell the champion's breath. "I am human," he said, "and we do not know how to give up. We have been wounded our whole lives. It has not slowed us down yet." For a long moment the champion said nothing. Then he turned away. "Tomorrow," he said as he walked into the darkness, "we will see if your words match your actions." After he was gone, Ho sat back down. His heart was pounding, but his mind was calm. He had seen something in the champion's eyes, something that gave him hope. The champion was not afraid of him, not yet, but there had been a flicker of doubt just for a moment. That was enough. Doubt was the crack in any armor, and Ho knew how to exploit cracks. Far across the galaxy, Captain's fleet was gathering. It had taken 2 days, but they had assembled a force unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Human warships, freed slave soldiers from worlds they had conquered, ships from allied species who had their own reasons to hate the Empire. They were still outnumbered. Still, the home system was one of the most heavily defended in known space. None of that mattered. Stood on the bridge, watching her fleet take formation on the display. 300 ships, thousands of soldiers, all of them ready to die for one man. That was what humans did. They came for their own. "Captain," her second officer said, "we are receiving a transmission from the system, a broadcast signal, something about games." "Put it on screen." The display changed to show the arena of blood. A voice was announcing tomorrow's fight, the final battle of the games, the undefeated champion against the human prisoner. The broadcast showed Ho's image, bruised, bloodied, but still standing, still alive. "He has survived," said softly. "That stubborn fool has actually survived." "The fight is tomorrow, Captain. We are still 12 hours out. We will not make it in time." His jaw tightened. "Then we push the engines harder. I do not care if they burn out when we arrive. We will make it in time." She looked at Ho's image on the screen, the man she had trained, the soldier she had sent into that canyon, the stubborn, impossible human who refused to die. "Hold on, Sergeant," she whispered. "Just a little longer, we are coming." In his cell on Prime, Ho could not hear her words, but somehow in his bones he knew. They were coming. All he had to do was survive one more day. The final day of the Blood Games arrived with thunder in the sky and fire in the hearts of millions. Every screen in the Empire showed the arena of blood. Billions watched from distant worlds. Ships stopped in space to witness the broadcast. This was not just a fight. This was the event of a generation. The human against the champion. The impossible against the undefeated. Ho walked into the arena for the last time. His wounds had healed more than anyone expected. The alien doctors had done good work and his body had done the rest. He was not at full strength, not even close, but he was stronger than he had been. Strong enough. The crowd was different today, quieter. They had come to see him die, but 3 days of impossible victories had planted seeds of doubt. Maybe, whispered some, maybe this human really cannot be killed. Maybe he is something beyond their understanding. Al sat in his golden box, surrounded by his generals and advisors. The Grand Warlord's face showed nothing, but his eyes never left the small figure in the sand below. The drums stopped. The gate opened. The champion walked out. In the light of 2 suns, he was even more massive than before. His armor was polished to a mirror shine. His weapons were the finest in the Empire, a great sword as tall as Ho, a shield of solid steel, blades strapped to his arms and legs. He moved like a mountain coming to kill. Ho looked at him. He held only his short blade, the same dull weapon they had given him on the first day. It seemed pathetic against the giant before him. The champion stopped 10 paces away. His 4 eyes looked down at the human. "The crowd is watching," the champion said. "The Empire is watching. Do you have any last words?" Ho raised his blade. "Just one, come." The champion charged. The impact was like being hit by a ship. Ho dove aside, but the champion's shield caught him, sent him spinning through the air. He hit the sand hard, rolled, came up running. The great sword slashed down where he had been. The champion was fast, faster than anything that size should be. His sword cut the air with deadly precision. His shield blocked every counter Ho attempted. 200 battles of experience guided every move. Ho ran. There was no other option. He could not match strength against strength. He could not block those blows with his short blade. All he could do was move, dodge, survive. The crowd began to cheer. This was what they wanted, the human running, the champion chasing, the natural order of the universe being restored. But Ho was not just running, he was learning. Every swing the champion made, Ho studied. Every step, every breath, every tiny shift in balance. The champion was powerful, but he was also predictable. He had won too easily for too long. He had patterns he did not even know about. Minutes passed. The champion's attacks grew more frustrated. The human should have fallen by now. Every other opponent had fallen by now. But this creature kept moving, kept dodging, kept refusing to die. Ho saw his opening. The champion swung high. Ho went low. He rolled under the great sword and came up inside the champion's guard. His blade found the gap between armor plates at the hip. The champion roared in pain. First blood. Ho did not stop. He attacked again, cutting at the champion's leg. The champion's shield came around, but too slow. The blade cut deep into the thigh. The crowd went silent. The champion staggered back, bleeding from 2 wounds. His eyes were wide with shock. No one had wounded him in 30 years. No one had even come close. "What are you?" he demanded. Ho circled him, blade ready. "I am what happens when you take something that refuses to break." The champion attacked again, but the wounds were affecting him now. He was slower, clumsier. Rage was replacing skill, and rage made enemies stupid. They fought across the arena. Sand turned purple with blood, mostly the champion's. Ho took hits too, a slash across his back, a punch that cracked his ribs again. He kept fighting. Pain was just information. The champion fell to one knee. Ho stood over him, breathing hard. His blade was raised for the killing blow. The crowd held its breath. The Empire held its breath. Al stood up in his box. "Stop!" Guards flooded into the arena. 100 soldiers, all armed, all pointing weapons at Ho. Ho froze. He looked up at the Grand Warlord, blood dripping from his blade. "This fight is over," Al announced. His voice echoed across the stadium. "The human has proven himself a worthy opponent, but the champion will not die today." Ho understood. Al could not let the human win, could not let the Empire see their greatest warrior fall. It would shatter everything they believed about their own superiority. So instead, he would cheat. The guards closed in. Ho was surrounded. There was no escape, no chance. He had fought through everything they threw at him, and now they would kill him with pure numbers. He looked at the champion, still kneeling in the sand. The great warrior looked back at him. There was something new in those 4 eyes, something like respect. "You fight well, human," the champion said quietly. "Perhaps better than anyone I have faced." "Then let me finish it." "I cannot. The Grand Warlord has spoken." Ho gripped his blade. If he was going to die, he would die fighting. He would take as many of them with him as he could. The guards raised their weapons. And then the sky split open. Light exploded above the arena. Massive shapes dropped out of the clouds, engines screaming, weapons firing, ships, warships, and on their hulls markings that Ho knew better than his own name. "Human ships." Captain's voice boomed across every frequency, drowning out the chaos. "Prime, you have something that belongs to us, and we have come to take him back." The arena erupted into chaos. Explosions rocked the city. Alarms screamed. The crowd fled in terror. Guards turned their weapons toward the sky, away from the single human standing among them. Ho looked up at the ships, descending through fire and smoke. They came, he thought. They actually came. He raised his bloody blade and smiled. It was time for the real fight to begin. The sky above Prime was on fire. Human warships cut through the clouds like blades through flesh. Behind them came ships from a dozen other worlds, species they had conquered, peoples who had waited generations for this moment. Weapons fire lit up the atmosphere in streaks of blue and gold. In the arena, chaos ruled. Guards fired at the sky. The crowd trampled each other, fleeing for the exits. Slaves saw their chance and rose up, turning on their masters with whatever they could grab. The blood games had become a battlefield. Ho moved through the madness like a ghost. He cut down guards who stood in his way. His short blade was dull and worn, but it was enough. He had been fighting for 3 days straight. His body knew nothing else now. Found him near the gladiator pits. She was running with a group of slaves, all armed with stolen weapons, all with the wild look of people who had finally found hope. "The tunnels," she shouted over the noise. "We are freeing everyone. The whole Empire is watching this. If the arena falls, if the humans win, everything changes." Ho nodded. "Get the others out. I have one more thing to do." He turned toward the Grand Warlord's box. Al had to fall. As long as he survived, Thua would keep fighting. But if their leader was captured in front of the entire Empire, broadcast on every screen in known space. A crash through the arena roof. It hit the sand hard, engines screaming, ramp already dropping before it stopped moving. Human soldiers poured out, armor gleaming, weapons hot. They moved in perfect formation, cutting through a guards like water through sand. At their head was a woman Ho knew better than anyone. "Captain!" She saw him across the arena. Their eyes met. For a moment the battle seemed to freeze around them. "Sergeant," she called out, "you look like hell." Ho walked toward her, blade still in hand. "You should see the other guys, Captain." She met him halfway. Up close he could see the strain in her face. The desperate journey across the galaxy had cost her, but she was here. She had come. 300 ships, she said. 12,000 soldiers, every ally we have ever made. All for you, Sergeant. I hope you appreciate the effort. I appreciate it, Captain. He looked around at the burning arena, the falling empire, the fleet in the sky. But we are not done yet. Al is still up there. Not for long. They fought together toward the Grand Warlord's box. Human special forces cleared the way. Guards fell in waves. The path forward was paved in purple blood. Above them, the space battle raged. Human ships targeted military installations, communication centers, the chains of the slave system. Freed captives took over transport ships and fled into space. The empire that had seemed invincible 3 days ago was crumbling in real time. They reached the royal box to find it nearly empty. Al stood alone among his fallen guards. The Grand Warlord had not run. He stood with a sword in his hands, facing the humans who climbed up to meet him. "So," he said, his deep voice echoing in the sudden silence, "this is what humans are, a species that will burn a whole world for one soldier." Stepped forward. "You took one of ours. What did you expect?" "I expected you to be rational, to count the costs and decide he was not worth it. That is what every other species does." Ho moved to stand beside his captain. "That is why you lost. You never understood us. We do not leave our people behind, ever. No matter the cost, no matter the distance. When you take one of us, the rest will come." Al looked at him. The Grand Warlord's 4 eyes were tired, but there was something else there too, not fear, something like understanding. "You are more dangerous than I thought," Al said quietly. "Not because of your strength or your weapons, but because of this irrational loyalty, this willingness to sacrifice everything for each other." "It is not irrational," Ho said. "It is what makes us human." Al lowered his sword. He knelt on the bloody floor of his own arena, defeated not by force alone, but by something he could never have understood. The broadcast was still running. Across the empire, billions watched their Grand Warlord surrender to the small, wounded human who had killed their greatest warriors with a dull blade. In that moment, everything changed. The fighting stopped almost immediately. Without their leader, without their belief in their own superiority, the military collapsed. Ships surrendered. Soldiers laid down weapons. The empire that had terrorized 100 worlds ended not with a great battle, but with a single act of defiance that proved everything they believed was wrong. The blood games were over, forever. In the days that followed, the galaxy rebuilt itself. Slave worlds declared independence. Trade routes reopened without checkpoints. Species that had been enemies found common cause in their shared liberation. And at the center of it all was a story, a legend that spread from star to star, told in 100 languages on 1,000 worlds. The story of the injured human soldier who would not die. A week after the battle, Ho stood on the deck of a human medical ship. His wounds were healing. Real doctors, human doctors, had worked on him for hours. He would carry scars for the rest of his life, but he would recover. Found him there, looking out at the stars. "You saved us," she said, "all of us. The slaves, the conquered peoples, everyone. You gave us hope when we had none." "I did not do it alone," Ho said. "My people came for me. They always come." "Why?" Captain said. 300 ships, thousands of soldiers. They crossed the galaxy for one man. I do not understand." Ho turned to look at her. The small blue alien who had helped him survive, who had believed in him when no one else did. "It is simple," he said. "Humans form bonds, connections. We call it family or friendship or loyalty. It goes beyond logic, beyond survival instinct. When one of us is in trouble, the others come, not because it makes sense, because it is who we are." Was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "I think I would like to understand that better, this human way of caring." Ho smiled. "Stick around, you will see plenty of it." Captain joined them at the viewport. She looked tired but satisfied. "The message is spreading," she said. "Every species in the galaxy knows what happened here, what we did, what you did. Good. They will think twice before taking a human again. Ho nodded slowly. That was the point. Looked at him, her sergeant, her soldier, the man who had survived the impossible because he simply refused to accept any other outcome. Sergeant Ho, you are a stubborn, impossible, reckless fool, and I have never been prouder of anyone in my entire career. Thank you, Captain. They stood together, watching the stars burn bright against the darkness of space. Somewhere out there, in slave quarters and conquered cities and hidden places across the galaxy, people were telling the story. The human who could not be killed, the fleet that crossed the stars for one soldier, the empire that fell because it underestimated what humans would do for each other. The message was simple, and it echoed across the universe like a promise and a warning. Humanity protects its own. Touch one of us, and the rest will come. Always.